Hey guys, it's Caroline, career and leadership coach. And today I'm going to share with you 6 need to know interview tips that literally have been lifesavers for my clients. As many of you guys know, I have been giving interview training and being part of interviews for over 15 years now. Oh my God. And most of the time, I work with managers, senior managers, directors, and so on. And I've compiled for you the 6 need to know tips that will basically save the interview for many, many, many people. Now, these are not your box standard tips. And even if you heard them before, just like make sure you're open and have a growth mindset because I can promise you they make all the difference. And I see that all the time if people don't haven't covered all of these 6 things, like their success rate in the interview is so much lower because it's like stepping in the dark. If you don't know what you're stepping into, then how can you expect to succeed? It can be by accident, but you have to make sure you have all your bases covered as well as possible. And it's by asking certain questions that definitely that you will expect that success. So let's dive in. Now, before we dive in, what I want to say tonight is my round table. The round table event is, or discussion is, a free event, online event. And tonight, so every week we have a new topic. And tonight we're talking more even about interview disasters. So if this is a topic of interest of you, for you, then definitely tune in, register. I will pop the link here, and you can go to my website. There is a big banner on top and register your details. And I hope to see you there. It's going to be invaluable insights and invaluable strategies shared with you tonight. Anyway, all right, let's dive into the 6 need to know interview tips. Now, the first one is, and I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes. So the first one is like, how accurate is the job? And let me explain this. Like, how often I heard from a hiring manager that said like, hey Caroline, we're looking for a brand manager again. Can you whack up an ad that we have had up last time? So just like make sure we get the ball rolling, and we will sit down to discuss the role more in detail in the next few weeks. It's like, you put up an ad, but is it accurate? Like, often the recruiter, the HR person, they rely on information that is just existing, like a job description that's already been used last time. But how accurate is that? Like 9 out of 10 chances, when I sat down with the hiring manager and asked them the relevant questions, I would actually say like, okay, hang on, mate, you're not looking for this at all. You're looking for this. So it is very important for you to understand like accurate information, because you as a candidate are preparing yourself left, right, and center for what exactly is tiny nitty bitty written on the job description. But you need to know that is sure. Now, asking how accurate that job description is a very sensitive question. So, questions you might be asking is like, okay, is this role a replacement, or is this a newly created role? What is really the main focus that they want to achieve in the next 6 months, 12 months with having this person in the role? Like, would you mind telling me what didn't work with the last person? And those are questions that you can definitely ask a recruiter, like an agency recruiter, because use them to leverage as much information as possible. Why are they recruiting for the role? What's their big plan? And if they don't know, say like, hey, would you actually mind if you go and find that out for me, because it would really help me in terms of my preparation. So it's really making sure you push back and ask those questions to the recruiter, to the HR, to actually make sure that you are aware of what you're stepping into. Second question to ask is what type of interview it will be. And so many people just do not ask this question, or they just go from an email and that's it. It's like, and I understand most hiring manager, they follow their guts. They know how to do this stuff. They know how to interview. Caroline, I've recruited for the last 10 years people. I know when I see a good candidate from a bad candidate. So it's more like you understanding what to expect so you can actually prepare your answers in a suitable way. For example, if you know that the interview is competency based, okay, don't leave it just at that. Just ask, there are, like, from the job description I can see there definitely is a couple of competencies. In the first interview, what competencies can I expect them to check? Da like, they're not going to check all the competencies in the first interview. Like, they will split them up, or most likely split them up. So it's very different if it's competency based or if it's behavioral based. Which behaviors are they looking for? Like, if it's a HR and if it's a peer or if it's the hiring manager, very different behaviors. And the hiring manager, is that person like a technical expert, or is that person completely removed from your job? For example, if you are going for a marketing role and that is general manager's operation, like, they might not really be familiar with your jargon. So you need to know where to match and what to expect, because that way you can prepare your interview accordingly. Because just winging it and hoping your skills and experience will get you the role is not going to happen. Not if you're at a certain level, and not if you want to really go to the next level in your career and really want to have a role where you're valued and challenged and where you're fulfilled, and most important, where you get paid what you're worth. So really knowing what to expect and really daring to dive deeper in that is so critical for your success, because you can't prepare for an interview if you do not know what to expect and what you're walking into. So that's number 2. Number 3 is learn how to sell yourself, how to pitch yourself. Most people, they just waffle when they have to discuss who they are and what they've done, and they go back all the way through their career, or they're just talking about what they've currently done. And maybe that's you, but like, learning how to sell yourself is like the key to the rest of your success, your career success. So you have to know how to sell brand yourself. And if that is something that you struggle with, because most people say like, oh, Caroline, I can't sell myself. That's okay. But you have a choice to make. Your choice is to keep hiding behind this, I can't sell myself, and keep playing that, or you can actually do something about it and actually learn how to sell yourself. And really, like, say like, okay, enough is enough. If I want to increase my influence and increase the scope of the role that I'm having, I need to understand what my unique value proposition is and how I'm going to present that in an interview, and how I'm going to sell myself, so that not only in an interview but later in my career too. So learning how to sell yourself is critical. Okay, number 4 is gather your examples. And I know this is probably a given, but a lot of people just don't gather the right examples. So your job is to go through the job description, understand how accurate it is, then understand the commercial outcome that they want to achieve. Why are they really recruiting for the role? What's their plan? What's their mission? What's their vision for the role? And then you're going to select examples that and customize that and adjust them to actually make sure that they match the role. A lot of people have good examples, but they forget to match it. So it's like, for example, I was giving interview training to somebody that was invited for an interview for a financial organization. And she came from FMCG, fast moving consumer goods background. So quite like a different industry. So she was like ecstatic because she wanted to move from that label of the industry. And so I was talking to her about her examples, and all her examples were very jargony, very generic, very like specific to that industry. And I was like, lady, this is not gonna work. They are not going to understand they're not going to see maybe they understand, so don't get me wrong, they're not going to see the relevance of you in that role unless you start talking different language and a different way of positioning yourself. So yes, you can have the same example, but just like make sure that it's in line with the job description, with the people you're going to see, because I mentioned it before, your interview is going to be very different if it's HR or a hiring manager or a peer. So you have to make sure you're able to take your example and just turn it on its head, take from a different perspective, and talk from a different perspective, and so on. So you have to be agile enough. So this is, you have to gather your example. And also what's really important is that you adjust your examples to the level of role that you're going for. And this is so important. And a lot of people forget to do this. This is word gold, guys. So what do I mean by that? You take your example and then you see like, okay, am I going for a director's role that's paying me 230K? I might not want to talk about like setting up a campaign and delivering it and blah, 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 because this is like really not worth 230K. So you have to adjust the level of information you give. Of course, you can still give like certain information about you doing and executing if that is included in the role, but make sure you just like take it a level up and match your example to the level of role and the salary that you're going for. A lot of people forget that, and then they get feedback that they weren't strategic enough or really didn't demonstrate enough leadership capabilities and so on. And just like, and they don't know what to do. It's like, make sure that when you gather examples, and it's like such a given, and people will say like, oh yeah, of course I gather examples, Caroline, but it's so important that you do this and match your examples to the role that you're going for, and definitely the level of role that you're going for. Also with gathering examples, and this goes with the next tip, the next interview tip that I have is practice. So what you have to do when you gather your examples and you practice is that you actually have a storytelling approach. Now, a lot of people, they use the SMART technique, which is absolutely fantastic. At SMART, yeah, not the SMART because the STAR approach. My God, I was thinking about goals. The STAR approach, which is good, and they've Googled it, but they forget the storytelling component of the STAR approach. STAR approach is merely a framework for you to be able to tell your story, and story is what connects you to the interviewer, to the organization, to the team, to everyone else. So you have to have your storytelling ability in place. And the only way you're going to learn how to do that is by practice, 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 practice. Just like sounding like a broken record almost to my clients is like, come on, let's practice interviewing. The ideal time to start interview training is like 4 weeks to 2 months before you even have your interview, because you will nail it the first time. Like if you wait too long and if you just like, oh my God, I have to have interview training just a day before, you're going to be so overwhelmed with information, and you're going to just like be very anxious, and you won't have had the full time to cement in that example and those practices. So make sure you give yourself enough time. So if you say like, look, my interviewing is pretty shite, and I'm actually looking to move next year even to a new job, start now. Interview practice, and I'm not joking, interview practice is critical to your success. If you wait till you have an interview to actually do this, you're just like setting yourself up for failure. And then what will happen is that you will land the interview because you didn't bring your A game, you will fail it, and then your confidence will be gone, and then a ripple effect, and then you will go for roles that are lower level because you basically are like out of confidence, and you just like accept anything and anything because you want to go out, get out of your current role. Guess what? You're not going to be happy. So do yourself a favor, And just take time before you even start job searching to get your ducks in a row, to get your resume right, to get your interview techniques correct, like, and do all that. Give yourself a little bit of time, like doing all this work when you actually say like, hey, I want to start now. It's just like a little bit like cutting it very, very, very close. And with the practice also, okay, interviewing is a skill you can learn, and you learn something by practice. Now, imagine this. Are you able to ride a bike only by reading how to do it? No. Are you able to ride a bike only by watching YouTube videos? No, probably not. So you need to learn to ride a bike by doing it to yourself and to just follow down a couple of times. So the best way to practice your interviewing is to actually like have a coach like myself who sees your blind spot, not a friend, not a family member that are going to be too nice and like, yeah, you're doing great. Somebody who can cut through the bullshit and just gives you honest feedback. Hold that space for you because it's very important. People are vulnerable in that. So it's not about like being rootless. It's about holding that space and helping you like formulating or like organizing your thoughts, holding that space that you feel safe, that you actually build up your confidence, that when you go out there you are forced not to be reckoned with. And that's basically what you want to achieve. So with the practice, make sure you don't practice alone in front of the mirror, like have a coach and make sure that they give you the feedback you deserve. And if you want to actually make sure, if you want to reach out to me to see if I can help you, my website, newhorizoncoaching.com.au // call and booking a time where we can talk. For me, it's very important to actually make sure that I understand that I can help you before we engage in anything. So just like have a chat with me to actually understand what you're looking for. And then the last part, number 6 interview tip is basically refine. So it's not okay just to do your interview example one time and just like have them all. I use a specific spider technique and a spider approach, like to teach my clients how to only have like 5 to 8 examples ready and really able to turn them out, whether it's from HR, a hiring manager, how to actually shift that view and make sure it makes sense to them, and talk about their examples in storytelling way. But what's really important then is for you to refine. So even if you have a live interview and even if you mess it up, and most people say like, oh my god, I messed it up, I don't want to think about that interview anymore. Think about it. Think about which questions they've asked. Think about it where you felt most comfortable and not comfortable at all. Think about like, okay, looking at it objectively, where could you have been more specific? Where have you struggled with? What are the things that you will want to improve on next time? Look at it as an observer, look at it from that angle, and you will see so much clearer what it is that you can actually improve next time. Just trying to shuffle it under the carpet is not necessarily going to help you, believe me. And even if you did an amazing interview, again, like think about which examples did I really use. And the best way to do that is when you come out of an interview, take a notebook and scribble it all down, so you actually can actually understand what went well, what didn't went well, what to improve. Because we tend to forget, even myself, if you don't write it down immediately, you tend to forget that stuff. Anyway, those are the 6 need to know interview tips that I promise you saved so many of my clients' interviews because they asked and covered those questions. They did storytelling. They knew how to sell themselves. They knew like the interview flow. They knew how to really position themselves for success, all based on finding out initially what type of interview it was going to be, not only knowing who it is, but knowing how to adapt their examples to the people that they were going to see for the interview. So it was as relevant as possible, to know how to adjust their examples and so on, and to actually make sure that their examples are going to match the salary level of the job that they were going for. So all these things, guys, I hope it made you think about how you can improve your interview skills and what do you actually consider when you have your next interview. Anyway, if you want to reach out, make sure you book in a call. Otherwise, and also if you want to join the roundtable, it's on my website also at newhorizoncoaching.com .au/d-roundtable. Come along. It's every week. We have a new topic. This week is about interviewing and interview disasters. It's going to be very interactive, but for people who don't want that visibility yet, they can switch up their camera, but otherwise, like, you can just ask any questions. It's going to be like, it's not going to be a webinar style, it's more going to be a workshop style and meeting style. If you came across this video just randomly, make sure we are connected, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.